Hey everybody, Shahab Zagari from GC Records here, and I have with me, as always,
Ashley Stone. What's up?
what up? How's it going?
It's going okay. How about with
Mm,
you?
Good, good. I'm really excited about today's episode. I seem to say that every single time, but I
It
really am
is.
excited because East Arcadia are one of my favorites. Everything that we did with them is just absolutely beautiful. The album that we'll talk about in future episodes, a little bit more polished. This one a little bit grittier. Um,
Mm.
because again, as I said in the last episode, uh, this was the demo. And I think they were hoping the demo would impress a record label to then, get them in the studio and record something. And I was like, this is perfect. This is beautiful. If you don't mind, let's do a 7-inch record with this. And they were up for it. Before we get into the episode, though, I do have a correction from last episode.
Scandal.
Sorry, guys. I went a few episodes without making a mistake. So long story short, the P-Lander Z 4-letter words 7-inch. I said at the end of the episode that it came out in 2020. That was a total brain fart. It came out in the year 2000. So sorry about that for anybody who caught it. Haha on me. But that's the correction for this episode. It was actually came out in the year 2000. Today's release came out January 2001.
Wow.
So that was a 7-inch record, and as we were, putting that one together, we got the demo CD from East Arcadia. Listened to it on a road trip, and I looked at Gila and I said, "This is just too good. This is so good. Not only is it good, but these guys play a very, very fast tempo. Now,
Hmm.
usually, generally, and I'm just speaking generally here, but generally in the punk rock arena, when bands are playing very fast, they are hiding, musical abilities and lack thereof. They are just having fun, you know. Usually, kind of like we talked about in episodes past, with punk rock, it's mostly the message and not necessarily the musicianship.
Mm.
Um, and these guys play at a breakneck speed, and yet everything is very mathematical. Everything is hitting the marks, and I don't understand how they do it. When we met them, they did a nationwide tour, and they came through Vegas, and we saw them, and they were just like, we've been playing together as friends for years. And so it's
Oh.
that chemistry that they know what the drummer's going to do, what the bassist is going to do, that they really, were just, I mean, that's part of it, but also they must have, rehearsed so, intensely because I honestly, I don't know how they do what they do, and it's just so impressive that they're going so fast, and yet it's so unbelievably complex, and they're, the melodies and the things that are happening again, as
Hmm.
if you're listening to something. You know how on YouTube you can go 2 times speed, 3 times
Yeah.
speed. It's like you're on 4 times speed, but it's like
Wow.
insane. Yeah.
So is that haste something that really stuck out to you at first? Like, what was that thing that when you first listened to that demo tape that really just caught your ear
Well,
as this is
I
really
think it
something
was
special?
just I think it was just the musical abilities, right?
Mm.
Like, number one, if there is a band that is that good, why are they sending demo tapes out? Why has
Ah,
someone in Ohio
not
or
just snatched them.
Minneapolis or, Michigan not picked them up already? Like, what's going on there? Number one. Number two, it was, um, at the time, my favorite type of music was this like skater punk. Like, what were the
Ah.
skaters in the empty swimming pools listening to? And that was right up my alley. And so this was like not only that type of music, but they were so good at it. You know, for people who are like, hey, we're just friends and we're just, you know, there's a lot of those. There's a lot of we're just friends and we record and play in our garage and we, you know, and so, and again, like I said in the last episode, back in the year 2000, it was not weird to get demo tapes and demo CDs in our PO box. And a lot of it was just not that impressive and it was not that good, and it was singer songwriters in their bedrooms with there's nothing wrong with that, right?
No.
But just wasn't impressive. And so I think that's what it was. It was just the level of musicianship that went into it, the types of things they were singing about, you know, a bunch of white kids in the Midwest talking about, you know, racism and societal structures and you know, the structures of and implications of taking an advance in the music industry, right? Because, you know, for the people who don't know, and when you get hi, we're Sony and we're going to give you an advance. Well, that $1 million advance, it's what an advance sounds like. It's a loan, right? And so when they give you the $1 million, you need to use that to pay the recording engineer. You need to use that to, you know, print up T-shirts and go on tour and use it for gas money and hotels and whatever, and pay back that $1 million. Like that is an advance. That's what, you know, all these big artists do, and the record deals that they get is essentially a loan, and you have to market yourself, you have to get on the road yourself, you have to play those shows and somehow pay that money back. And if not, or if you become, you know, breach of contract and say, oh, we broke up, well, guess what, you owe them that advance back. So bands, if you get into a record deal, don't blow your advance on a pinball table. You need to pay that back, you know, kind of thing. And so anyway, so they were, these are the types of things they were singing about. And it was just this stellar music, but at breakneck speeds. Yeah. Like how, and this is the demo. So I was just so impressed. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the first song, in this 7-inch album. And, it's called New Face of Expression. And it was kind of a bridge for me. So they did do a self-release CD before this, and I don't know if it was recorded and released while they were in high school, but it was definitely written around that time. So it was very personal, lots of very personal stuff, and you know, woe is me, and you know, existential philosophy kind of stuff. This was the record, the recording, the songs where they started to branch out into global type, you know, universal kind of things. But this song was kind of a bridge between the two, and it's kind of talking about, you know, how people change themselves for friends, change who they are for, you know, after they get married or after they, you know, whatever it is. And this is just basically them saying, well, this is who I am and I'm never going to change. And so that's New Faces of Expression by East Arcadia. What does it do? Our minds. It's too bad that we can break through what society finds. It gets us at a navigate. Life lies in its web, monkeys in our cage, but not today. I won't do what they say. I'll express myself and I'll break away. Let confidence work with the dark. This is who we are. Just be yourself and don't try too hard. We'll keep trying. Open your eyes. Well, we are so easy to confuse. Let it be, I think I'll think. After we must just
I usually bop around during our listening to those, and I could not really bring myself to do that because the whole time my brain was focused on everything that was happening.
Right.
You weren't kidding. The tempo is incredible, but the precision and the articulation of everything, and that drummer is
Dude.
incredible.
Yeah, John, like he's an unbelievably amazing drummer, and he's the one I feel the worst for because he's just bashing those drums. I mean, that is untold speeds, you know?
It's the skill level to be able to make all of that happen with that energy for that long, and it never lets up.
No, no. No, and
Um,
there's breakdowns, and there's, the bass is doing this thing over here and the guitar is
mm,
doing this, but it's in harmony,
yeah.
yet very, very, very fast. I mean, unbelievable. But as you can see, this is exactly the kind of thing you would have on your Walkman as
Oh,
you're in the skate pool. You know what I mean?
totally.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you remember what the approximate age of this group was as they were going through this like kind of experimental transitional period between the kind of like angst and woe and then the global concepts and explorations? Because
I
clearly they were a very
I think
intellectual group.
they were 21, 20. Like some of them were
Okay.
20, some of them were 21. It was, a few years out of high school kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, Old enough to where they could play bars, right? So we did catch them on tour.
Yeah.
Um, but not, I mean, none of them were 25, 30, you know what I mean? So they were young. They were still
Yeah.
basically kids. Not in high school, but kids.
Yeah. Because that's just that skill level is far beyond the age of the subject matter really being kind of explored and expressed. That's a very kind of innocent concept of like these people are changing, but I'm not going to change, which is it's a really sweet and wonderful concept that
Mm-hmm.
all of us, I think, definitely felt at one point. And then we, ultimately found ourselves changing. Um, and yet
Changing
you
for the
hear the
better.
skill set of, yeah, with the wisdom and the grace and all that stuff. Um, and the professionalisms. Um, but that skill set from everyone involved and even I've commented on some of the past records that we've heard. This is not a comparative like thing at all, but even the breath support in some of those kind of belted lines with this crew is very, very different. And so you've
Mm-hmm.
got a much more, I don't, accurate isn't quite the term, but they're hitting the pitches in a way that seems much more kind of deliberate, and there's a much more physical connection with the body that seems very deliberate.
Mm.
Everything about the execution with this group seems very, very physical and intentional and intense,
Mm-hmm.
which is very gripping.
Perfect. That's like literally exact. And so listening to the CD they sent on the road trip, and it was only 4 or 5 songs, right? I was like,
I
no,
can see
this
why
is
it
it.
pulled you in.
This is I like Gila. I know we shouldn't be spending a couple $1,000s right now, but I think we need to say yes to these guys, right? And then later, I think it was 2002 or 2003. So we have a few episodes until we get there. But once we get to their album, just wait. Now, at that point, they had this amazing producer in Chicago
Hmm,
at the helm recording it. Vocals sounded completely different,
really?
polished, like amazing. And I remember there was one of the music reviewers at Razor Cake magazine said, I kind of liked the recording of the 7-inch better. It was grittier. It was less, you know, not they didn't use auto tune, but it was less polished.
Yeah, there's
And I
something to
was
be
like,
said for
but
that sound.
yeah, exactly. But I was like, but there's first of all, bands should grow and adapt and change and all that. But I was like, but dude, that was a demo, So
Yeah,
there
that's
was probably a 4 track or I don't even know what, and and then they go into a studio where the engineer's like, do it again, please, or whatever. I wasn't there with them, but like, let's take it again.
yeah.
Um, so this next song is called "Music Industry," and I thought it was very funny because they're basically talking smack on bands that do get signed and do, get into this almost entitlement kind of
Mm.
stage of their life. And yet whatever the record label says, they do it. They bend over, they what's it called, um, where you forego your beliefs. What's the idiom I'm looking for here? Where they
Are they
make you go.
sellouts?
Yes, basically, and that's what they called it in the early 2000s. Anyway, so this is talking smack on anyone who sold out. And I thought it was just funny that it was this recording that got them to sign with us.
I feel like that's different though. It's different signing with an independent record label than with like Sony.
True.
It's not the man.
Did not have an advance to give anybody, but we did fork over the cash to make this. And again, in the early days, for any of our listeners that didn't listen to some of the other episodes, a lot of these first releases were, hey guys, we'll pay to make this thing. We'll give you 200 of them. We'll keep 300. You guys sell them for however much you want. We'll sell these for however much we want. And you guys keep that money, So it wasn't really we'll give you money. It was you got to play shows. And then the more shows they played and the more they sold, the more our logo and website got out there. So it was kind of like this, little ecosystem. So next up is Music Industry by East Arcadia. See how you like this one.
Okay, Music Industry by East Arcadia.
I love the part where they go, "This is the day we're gonna rain out your game." Like, cancel the baseball game, can't do it anymore.
That's
it's all
right.
muddy.
Okay, can we talk about how hot that intro was? That intro was so sophisticated.
They are a sophisticated bunch.
And
Seriously.
the
Every
the
song is like
harmonic
that.
choices.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's very similar to everything happening in the genre, but it's just flavored and colored a little bit differently. That it's not
Mm-hmm.
like anything you've really ever heard in that genre.
Mm-hmm.
They've chosen slightly different chord colors and chord choices that so cool.
Yeah,
And
and
I'm
and
still obsessed with
I
that
love
intro.
how, there are certain moments where the bass, I mean, he's almost going a higher pitch, than would
Yeah.
normally be played, and it
Mm-hmm.
almost makes the bass stand out a little more. It's like on a
Yes.
different, I don't know, I don't know the specifics, but it's almost like, is it a different key than everything, or I don't know what it is, but then like the bass is now floating above
Yeah.
what everyone else is doing for a quick second. It's not even a bass solo like you would have in
Yeah.
jazz. It's just,
They're just experimenting with the relationship of the instruments, which like brings a whole new energy to it,
yeah.
which is
And
rad.
I also love how every once in a while the guitar just does this like Slayer, like,
You're right.
but like split second, and now we're off. Now we're going somewhere else. Such a good band.
Man, you could listen to those countless times and hear something new every time.
Every single time, and the 3 hour drive from California to Vegas, like we listened to it, and there was no Spotify, there wasn't even Sirius XM yet, or I think Sirius XM was getting started at that point, but they wouldn't have had East
Yeah.
Arcadia on it,
No.
So we did, and I fell in love, and I was like, dude, we gotta just, if they're okay releasing these demo tracks as a EP, then let's do it. And we did, and they were so thankful, and so just, I mean, really the nicest guys ever. Then we ended up doing their full length album, it was their first, because their first album was self-released, right? So this was their first like album on a record label, and I also feel like for a lot of the people in Cincinnati, especially at the time, like, oh, whoa, you're on a label off the West Coast. You know what I mean? Like,
That's
so it was
true.
like a
That's a really
big
good point.
deal.
Yeah.
So it boosted them, it boosted us, because honestly, how could that level of musicianship not boost the record label? I mean, it
I mean, at
was,
that time, Ohio didn't have the skibbity riz.
you,
Sorry. I could not say it.
you couldn't help yourself, could you? Yeah, so I'm really excited that there's a couple more compilations that we did that they were on in 2013, I believe it was. They, after years after
Ooh.
being broken up, because they all moved to different states and all this stuff, got married. They did a reunion show,
Oh,
and Ryan Garrett, the guitarist, paid for me to fly out there so I wouldn't miss
so
it. It was
sweet.
so nice. So if you go on my YouTube channel, there's like a 10-minute kind of pseudo documentary where I documented my time going out to Ohio. It was my first time there, like didn't realize like Cincinnati is that close to the Kentucky border, and like go on this side, drink some whiskey, go on this side, do the,
Yeah.
it was such a good time. I stayed with John, the drummer, and his girl at the time, and
Nice.
man, it was just the love these guys. I'm super excited to get talk about their full length, but they aren't next. Like I said, that was a year or so later. On our next episode, we're going to talk about, so we did the split between P-Lander Z and Four Letter Words. So that was a split, right? Then we did this
Mm-hmm.
East Arcadia. It was one band. So then we're like, let's do another 7-inch. Yeah, it's only a couple $1,000s, right? So let's do another. And this time it was a true compilation album.
Ooh.
And we called it A Sampler of Southern California Bands That Started a Sound of Their Own.
Okay.
Basically, it was a couple bands I was involved in, a couple bands that we'd released before, ESL, which we reviewed earlier. Kill the Scientist, which was just my sound collage kind of stuff,
Ooh,
and
interesting.
we did it on clear blue vinyl, and it was our first kind of co-op And so every band threw in some money. We threw in some money. And then instead of it costing us $1,000, it was a couple $100 for everybody. A couple
Cool.
$100, give your song. We, again, just like the P-Lander Z one, the East Arcadia one, we Kinko'd the covers.
Let's go.
The next one that we're going to talk about next episode went to Kinko's, copied those, cut them, double-sided paper and all that.
Yeah.
And it'll be really interesting because it was a little experimental, but we had East Arcadia. I'm sorry, we had Introspect, which was our first episode. And I almost did a. I was almost gonna have to do a correction next episode, but I saved it.
Nice. Nice.
So we had Introspect, ESL, and No Erasers Allowed, which was the Hitler in the Toy Store song. So all of these bands on this compilation 7-inch, and this 7-inch, the title of it, it actually came from a poem, and the title of it is "Your Machinery is Too Much for Me," and that was from a Ginsberg poem. And in fact, I don't know where we found it, because again, this was early days of the internet. We found a sample of Ginsberg reading his poem that this line came from, and I sampled it, and it's what kicks off the 7-inch. So when you put it on, it's actually Ginsberg saying, it's a little bit, it's not the whole poem, but it's a little bit of it. And then he says, "Your machinery is too much for me." And that's when things get crazy. And then the Introspect song comes in, and that is going to be what we focus on next episode. Ashley, thank you so much for doing these with me. This is so much fun going down memory lane.
Fun. Yeah. Thank you for having me. This is a blast every time.
Of course. So next up, Your Machinery is Too Much for Me, compilation 7-inch. Until then, I'm Shahab.
And this is Ashley.
And we'll see you next time.
Later.